Hey, how are you? Kumusta po kayo? And thanks for tuning in to another edition of Paul Presents Art. So I'm Paul and I'm going to be your guide today. We're just outside the Monte Clark Gallery here in Vancouver, built on the ancestral territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. And we're just about to go inside the gallery to have a look at local Vancouver artist and internationally acclaimed Roy Arden. And he's showing a work that is comprised of collages and assemblages called What the Jellyfish Wants. I think it's an interesting show. I saw it about a week ago, and we're gonna go inside and have a look. I hope you can join me, and I hope you enjoy the video. So let's go. Okay, so we're just inside the Monte Clark Gallery right now, and we're just gonna turn around and have a look at the works that are on display by Roy Arden called What the Jellyfish Wants. And as is traditional in my videos, we're just going to do a little bit of a pan of the show. And then I'm going to tell you a bit about Roy Arden by giving you a bit of a biography that I found on the internet. And so, just going to go and do a little bit of a pan here. And let me begin right now. Internationally known for his previous photographic and video work of the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, since around 2006, Arden has produced hundreds of works in a variety of media. This exhibition continues the trajectory of his last 2 decades, focusing on paper collage made from a vast array of printed materials and assemblages made from largely found objects. Arden's recent metier is grounded in research and a personal collection of printed imagery and objects that have been carefully chosen for their relevance to his interests and affections. So I'm just going to go pause for a little bit, and then we're going to go and have a look at each and every work. So we're going to go through the work clockwise. I'm just going to tell you all of the titles for the shows. And so for this first piece is called Every Artist 2, 2024 Mixed Media on Paper. So most of the works are actually done in 2023, 2024, and they measure about 18 by 12 inches. And this is called Le Chiffonnier. This one is called The Bigger Man 2024. This one is called Haute Couture 2024. This is called Abstract. This work is called Venus 2023. This is called Vulcan. It's mixed media, 2024. This is called Belle Epoque, 2024. This is called Milk, 2023. Bronze Age, 2024. Nature Morte 2024. Light of Day 2023. Hero 2023. Dandy 2024. Left Hand 2024. Sweeper 2 2024. This is called Smoker 2024. This is Memphis 2024. This is called Hard 2024, and I just noticed there's something in the middle of Hard, which is kind of like a found object right there. This one is titled Pretty Girl 2024, and this piece is called Gift 2023. And now we're just going to go into the assemblages. This piece is called What the Jellyfish Wants 2024. And this particular piece is called Stella 2024. And then this final piece over here is called Starship 2024. So now we're just going to go and pause it for a little bit. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to just share some thoughts with you. Now the history of collage is not a very long one. I mean, when I was reading the press release, it did actually mention the contributions of certain collage artists like Kurt Schwitters from Germany and Robert Rauschenberg, as well as German artist Dieter Roth. But the thing about it is that it's kind of interesting that as collage media goes, hasn't really been 100 years. You know, I think the first collage sort of like work of art that kind of like incorporated flotsam and jetsam was really more with Juan Gris, which is back around the 19-teens or something like that, before 1920s. And then you have two very particular artists who were practicing collage specifically during the Weimar era, and that's Kurt Schwitters as well as his contemporary Hannah Hoch. It's interesting too because like male artists tend to sort of attribute collage to Kurt Schwitters, and female collage artists tend to sort of like attribute it to Hannah Hoch. The entire sort of like sense about Hannah Hoch's working method is really more about the politics of the time, because during the Weimar era, that was just before the Nazis the Nazis were just about to sort of like come into power. And the thing about it too is that the collage medium, like I mentioned, is one of those mediums that somebody was telling me nothing really has sort of like evolved with regards to collage medium. But I think that's kind of like a bit of a misnomer. And I think with Roy Arden's work, you have to really look at his history in the photo conceptualist field before you actually sort of even sort of fathom how to sort of approach these collage works. Because first and foremost, photography is inherently a paper media. It's a printed media. And when you're looking at collage works are pretty much inherently based on found printed media. And so when you're looking at it from like a point of view of photo conceptualist artist who deals with sort of like a lot of photographs that are kind of like photoshopped, and sort of like the history of, let's say, art and the history of truth actually being questioned, you look at, let's say, the collage medium that kind of like deals with a lot of printed media and trying to sort of create a new sort of like narrative out of different types of pictures that you collect. Because when you look at magazines, they're mostly pictures anyway. There are some text materials in there as well, but at the same time, it's really more the photographs that one concentrates on when you look at collage, you know. You're basically looking at a reinterpretation of what truth might be. And it's kind of like telling in our society right now that truth is one of those things that's actually being questioned. Like, who cares about truth, or can we actually create our own truth? Isn't the creation of truth more of a certain sort of like democracy of what we know? Can't we choose what we choose to believe in, and so on and so forth? And that's the thing about collage, is that it's one of those things that you can actually sort of like have a liberality about creating your own truth and creating your own narrative. Now this particular piece is more of one of those mixed media found pieces, because a lot of the objects in this show that are kind of like more assemblage type of systems of making art really comes down to, let's say, artists like Robert Rauschenberg, but even before that, when you look at the work of Joseph Cornell, who is pretty much the sort of like godfather or the grandfather of sort of like the collage media, but he contained it in these boxes. A lot of these terms that I will have or use during this video will have some sort of like information down in the very bottom on the screen, and if I can share some sort of like pictures from the internet, I will do so. But the thing about Joseph Cornell is that, like, when you look at, let's say, his assemblages, they create this sort of like almost like an inventory of images and stories. It's not just collection of flotsam and jetsam. There's always this sort of like, there's always this sensibility about what he's interested in. Like, he's interested in movie stars, he's interested in a lot of opera singers, and when you look at, let's say, collage work today or assemblage work today, like what you're looking at here with Roy Arden, there's this sort of like sense of a narrative of, let's say, the Jellyfish, and even like Portuguese man of war, something like very, very sort of natural, and perhaps even endangered. And then you also look at, let's say, most of these are actually like bottle caps. And there's a lot of things about bottle caps and a lot of sort of like things that are stuck into statuary. Like, for example, when you look at, let's say, the Congo Nkisi Nkonde statues that have nails and bottle caps and bits of textile sort of like nailed into the statues, that becomes sort of like a social contract for the community. There's also these like little glitters here that are really kind of cool. And it's kind of interesting to note that when Roy Arden was actually doing his photoconceptualist work, a lot of that work, it's really very sort of like designed and very Apollonian in terms of how it's sort of like looked at. It's organized. There's a certain sense of a concept for each and every one of the works. And then you sort of like exercise the other side of the brain, which is really more Dionysian, which is really more about sort of like working with material, dealing with the materialist sensibility, and also sort of like allowing the material to dictate to you how it will be used. And I think that's kind of like an interesting sort of like thing with artists, is sort of like the license to allow artists to actually just do what they need to do in whatever interest they might have at that moment in time. So I think we will end it on that, and I hope you enjoyed this video on Roy Arden's show here at Monte Clark Gallery, which is called What the Jellyfish Wants. And if you did enjoy this video, you can like, you can subscribe, you can also share this on your social media channels. And on that note, thank you so much for indulging with me here. This show at Roy Arden's at Monte Clark Gallery. You have a great day. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. And I hope art informs your life. And perhaps I'll see you again next week. Goodbye.